Thanks to our sponsor, DoneDeal.ie, we bring you Business Bites. They are the best bits of that great business show, served up in individual servings.
DoneDeal Motors is home to Ireland's largest range of new and premium used cars. That's why you'll find cars from Audi and BMW dealerships on DoneDeal. Are you looking for a 7-seater to accommodate your growing family? Maybe you're after a luxury saloon to make a statement. We have the car for you. You'll also find Ireland's largest range of electric cars to help you make the switch. Visit donedeal.ie today to start the search for your next car.
From episode 130, Jerome O'Connell, co-founder of agtech company Proveye, is bringing an eye-in-the-sky technology to farming and maybe other sectors. Now, regular listeners know that I love a good pun, and I absolutely adore a bad one. So when I saw that agtech company Proveye had raised €1 million funding in a seed round, well, you can see where I could have gone with that, but I won't. I'll be nice today. Proveye is a UCD spin-out company headquartered at Nova UCD. They say they can hugely increase the accuracy and value of information from Earth observation data across a wide array of remote sensing sources, including satellites, drones, and ground-based sensors. So, some kind of farming eye in the sky is what I'll call it. The software is used by agricultural advisors, fertilizer and pesticide suppliers, and food processors to provide fast and accurate information about productivity and sustainability on agricultural land to their farmer customers. But I think that they may have other applications, so who better to ask all about that but co-founder of Proveye, Jerome O'Connell. Welcome to That Great Business Show.
Hello.
That's very understated of you. Hello. And hello to you, Jerome. Tell us about this. Just 5 seconds ago, you were telling me that you went on a bit of a wander to get to where you are today. That said, you've just proven to somebody, to some people, that you're worth at least €1 million towards your business.
Yeah, I did. I guess my background would have been predominantly in academia, and I would have gone from various research positions in Ireland and in the UK, and probably got a little bit disillusioned with academia and with working on very focused projects, but not really seeing the impact of that on the larger scale. So I decided to dip my toes into the commercial sector, and so Proveye was born.
What did you see that made you want or drive you that way? Or
I guess I could see the impact that some of the research I was doing in academia could have on industry. When you're working in a large university, you do a bit of research, you publish a paper, and that's it. It's gone. You don't see that.
But I thought that the third level institutions nowadays, they're all, including yourself, are all thinking, God, I could make millions out of this.
That's improving and probably needs to improve further. And UCD, through UCD Nova and other universities, are trying to shorten that gap between academic research and the commercial world. But I think it probably still has some way to go for sure.
Well, now, my intro was very technical because I took it straight off your website, just FYI. Yeah. Tell us what's actually about.
I'll start with the issue in agriculture, and that'll spin into to what exactly we do. So some of your listeners might be aware, but the agriculture industry is under significant pressure at the moment. So globally, the agricultural sector needs to double food production between now and 2050. And also needs to significantly reduce its impact on the environment. And digital agriculture, so the use of digital technologies, precision agriculture, drones and satellites are seen as a key enabler to be able to address these needs. But there's a big issue at the moment with the use of this type of data, and that's around the quality of the data. And the quality of the data isn't near good enough to be able to extract these types of insights that are needed for the industry, and that's where Proveye has come from.
And what have you done that the rest of the world hadn't done that you saw? Because I think you said to me that you really did have a eureka moment.
Yeah, so I was over in the UK working in the University of Leeds. We on a very large-scale project. I spent a lot of money on flying drones across East Anglia, and we were using a third-party piece of software to process this imagery. And the quality of the data was extremely poor and really negated the viability of the whole project. So I would have done a piece of research in UCD 3 years prior on processing or cleaning satellite data. And I thought, maybe some of that technology could actually be used here to improve the quality of this UAV or this drone imagery.
Now, I have no idea what you're actually talking about, having to clean up the images. When I see drones, I see beautiful high-definition videos of countryside and stuff like that. What's the problem?
So the issue with drones in particular is it's a human that's typically flying them. They're automated, but there's a lot of variables. So drones, if it's on a windy day, get pushed around. That makes the sharpness of the images much poorer. Also, the level of detail that we're looking to extract from these images is incredibly high. We use AI models to extract information about...
Such as?
So, for example, we will look at, can we detect drought stress in crops much earlier than what you could see with your own eyes? We're looking at nutrient deficiency.
Hang on a second, I just done that one. How do you do that?
So we use thermal cameras. So when a plant, any plant, whether it's an arable crop or a native plant, when it's under drought stress, it actually heats up inside internally. So we use thermal cameras, which obviously the naked eye can't see, to be able to have an early warning of...
Well, without getting too technical, say, for sake of argument, I have no idea about this stuff, is that it's 20 degrees normally. And do you see like 21 degrees?
Yeah, incredibly sensitive. And
wow.
That would be one of the precursors to this issue around image quality. So if there's a high level of noise in your image, you can't differentiate between that very subtle change in temperature between what it should be and above normal levels. And the key in agriculture is you want early detection. So you want to detect whatever issue is with the crop as early as possible and then feed that information.
Okay, you've got my jaw halfway down to the floor. What else are you doing? That's fantastic.
Yeah, so other things we're looking at is around nutrient deficiency. So if a crop, for example, is deficient in nitrogen or deficient in some particular aspect,
you can tell.
We can tell that early on.
From the sky?
Yeah, so we use what's called multispectral cameras. So they look at the near-infrared part of the colour spectrum, again, not visible to the naked eye, but we can see internally within the crop when it's starting to get deficient in particular nutrients. It's within the actual structure of the crop itself. And again, it's an early warning system. Other areas that we're also looking at is around biodiversity, around habitats. So we're looking at the productivity side in agriculture, but also looking at biodiversity and can we classify how sustainable some of these biodiversity areas are? Are they being degraded maybe by management practices in the landscape, whether it's through farming or through other industries? And we've done some work in Ireland with the EPA and throughout the world looking at building AI models to classify and to detect these biodiversity areas.
And what a perfect segue. You mentioned throughout the world. Tell me, please, first of all, you have protected your IP, have you?
We looked going down that avenue about 2 years ago. So we looked at any prior art in the UK through the UK Patent Office. That came back negative, so we potentially could have went down that route. We talked to a lot of people in industry that were developing software like us, and the issue is, I think, the difficulty of protecting that. So our IP is around a sequence of steps, the novelty of a sequence of steps that we take in terms of the way we process the software. So in reality, another company could, in theory, replace one step with another and probably negate that IP. So it's something we may revisit in time, because probably since that review, we've pushed the technology on quite substantially from then. And maybe perhaps our current investors might look to push that route as well. But it
would seem awfully pity that you've done the work and then you can't protect your own intellectual property.
Particularly in software. I think it's both in hardware and engineering. It's maybe
and there are people on the other side of the world who are a bit too quick just to pop in there. Yeah,
that's without mentioning regions, but yeah.
And which again brings me back to this world thing. You have a world application. This is going to work anywhere.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the US is a key market for us. To scale the company, the uptake of this type of technology is huge in the US, and we're currently doing trials in the US with 2 different companies. We're also working in Illinois and also New York. We're also working in Ontario and Canada with people there working with...
One thing you found out about those places, they're kind of big. Like,
Ontario.
You're from North Kerry. I say North Kerry would probably fit into Illinois 5,000 times or something, maybe 5 million times. I have no idea.
Yeah, even Ontario. So the Department of Agriculture there in Ontario, actually a guy originally from Ireland is working there, and I did a quick Google on the size of Ontario after. ridiculous. Yeah.
So there is a massive business, but who's paying for it? Who's your customer?
So we're a B2B company. So we're a B2B company, but I guess it's in a B2B2C type of relationship. So we'll be selling to seed and fertilizer companies, to ag advisory companies. We'll be delivering the insights to them. They'll typically have infrastructure, software infrastructure, or actually boots on the ground where they interact with the farmer. So the insights that we'll give will actually help the farmer improve productivity, typically reduce input costs, and as well around sustainability. We don't deliver that directly to the farmer. We do that through our own customers.
And what was your thinking about not going to the farmer? Too messy?
It's a gradual growth curve, I guess, and with investment now in the company, I guess the investors are looking for a more rapid scale. So yeah, it's a not a difficult sell, but it makes more sense for us, and it reduces the amount of infrastructure we have to have on the customer facing side as well. The vast majority of companies we're engaging with, it's through an API. So
I'm thinking aloud here. I'm kind of looking at your face that you're saying, oh, now that we have money. When you didn't have any money, I presume it was bloody difficult. But now you have money and it's bloody difficult because now you have investors breathing down your neck.
Yes.
Which would you have preferred?
Well, I mean, clearly you need the money to scale, and we've recruited, we've tripled the workforce in the last couple of months.
How many have you got now?
So we're up on 11 people now.
And hiring?
Hiring another 2 in the next couple of weeks.
What kind of animals are you looking for?
So
unkind?
it's sales and marketing actually at the moment. Up to now it was all around developers, software developers, and also crop scientists that we were recruiting in January as well. So yeah, really looking at the recruitment side of things actually, which was a little bit of a concern for me. But yeah,
you cannot be all things to all persons all over the world.
No.
You do need other people on the ground. So if you're going to head into the States, where will you be based?
So we have been in San Francisco before, on the West Coast, obviously. So we may locate there initially. We've engaged with Enterprise Ireland out in San Diego.
Why would you go there, as a matter of interest?
I guess there's an overlap between the technology that we use, which is essentially digital technology, but also, albeit there's a different type of agriculture on the West Coast. On the East Coast, there's obviously it's more some dairy, but arable. Also we work with a lot of companies that operate with high-end crops, like vineyards, for example. A lot of vineyards.
Never thought of those, yeah. What can you do for the vineyards?
So they would use a lot of UAVs and UAV imagery to get very
UAV mean?
Drone imagery. Drone imagery.
We had a chat beforehand.
Drone imagery.
And what would they use that for?
So you can get very detailed information on the ripeness of the crop, on, again, any diseases.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we use computer vision to be able to tell and predict the yield as well. Also, we can count the potential output for not just for vineyards, for other fruit crops as well, and that's obviously predominantly on the West Coast.
So, you have so many sweet spots. Which is, what are you actually chasing this time?
Well, we've just recently secured a contract with the European Space Agency, and that's actually around grasslands, and that's a big focus for us at the moment. Is grasslands actually cover over 75% of all agricultural land globally, but they're hugely underutilised.
Could we get more grass out of that land?
Absolutely. And that's what we're...
Do we not deplete the goodness in the soil, no?
No, we're working with actually a few seed companies now at the moment. There's a move away from these monocultures, so setting a single grass species to using these, what they call multi-species swards, and introducing more clover. So clover is a fantastic plant that can extract nitrogen from the atmosphere. So it's a big win from the farmer at the moment. It'll reduce the amount of artificial fertilizer that they have to input into the ground. So there's a big sustainability and a cost-saving component there. So we're working with seed companies at the moment to help to deliver an advisory solution to farmers to help them best utilise these multi-species grass swards. So improving the productivity of grasslands. There's also a carbon component there as well that we're currently working on with some companies. We can measure in some detail how quickly the grass grows, how much of the grass is on the ground, and that has a direct link then to the amount of carbon that could be potentially stored in the ground.
The company has an awful lot of intelligence.
I guess we have. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of opportunities there. There's pros and cons to that, I would say. There's lots of avenues we can go. Exactly.
Knew what you'd get diverted.
Yeah,
in the dream area, where could you go? What else could you be doing? I knew I hadn't discussed this with you, but I knew there was something like this about the technology. It must be so exciting.
It is. I think the long-term ambition for the company is actually in prediction. So predicting into the future. So to be able to tell ag advisors and tell farmers, if you do X, Y, and Z, this is the outcome. This is what you can expect in terms of yield. This is what you can expect in terms of productivity. So the algorithms we're using at the moment, they're always learning. They're always evolving and improving. The more data we push through the platform, the more they can learn scenarios and outcomes. If the farmer does X, this will be the outcome. So that's the real endpoint, I think, for the companies around that area.
Do you have your own drones, or just
No.
the drones are using your software?
No, we stay away from the hardware, stay away from the licensing nightmare of flying drones. No, we don't. No, we have some hardware in-house that we just use in terms of testing our own software. But no, we subcontract out all the acquisition of the drone imagery. And we work with the European Space Agency and with NASA on acquiring satellite imagery.
That's pretty cool. When you were a kid, did you know that you'd be working with NASA?
No, I didn't. No, looked up into the sky. No, I didn't.
And did you any interest in looking into the sky or looking down from the sky, maybe more importantly?
I did. I probably always had an interest in astronomy, but probably felt my maths wasn't good enough. But it's a great area to be working in. You know, it's an area that has grown hugely over the last 15 years or so, particularly on the private sector side. You know, a lot of private companies now. Obviously, SpaceX is the obvious one, but there are actually a lot more out there that are putting satellites up into space, and it's really benefiting.
Some people are saying too many.
Yeah, there is an issue, I think, I believe, around space junk and stuff.
When you're looking into the sky, all you see is a whole heap of junk hanging around up there. Yeah. You've raised only, and I say only 1 million, because I presume you will be going again, and you are hiring. So how rapidly, I mean, it's boots on the ground time now, isn't it? How rapidly can you take over the world?
It's getting them key early adopters, them teacher customers in. So we are working with some fairly large multinationals. Has its pros and cons.
Okay, go on. Tell us the insights there.
I guess early on, maybe, this is going back 2 years ago, pre-investment, we would have worked with some fairly big players in the industry and got a little bit punch drunk and probably went in a little bit blind on a trial.
They had no money, they had you by the shorts, as they say.
Yeah, we probably just didn't set goals and milestones. So what we deem as a success and what the customer deems as success, that probably wasn't written in black and white. And many companies, I guess, early stage companies have fallen foul of that. So we learn quite quickly that when you are dealing with these large companies, you need to be clear on what the deliverables are. So it's engaging with these large companies, and we're doing trials currently at the moment with some of these. So,
and how are you finding them? I mean, obviously I can look through a Rolodex or whatever and see, such and such is a seed company. But how are you actually knocking on the door? I'm always interested in that. As a former salesman myself, do you do cold calls? We
do a little bit of cold calls. We've gone to the World Agritech Innovation Summit. So we were in San Francisco a few years ago. We were in London last year. So events like that are quite good because there's a nucleus of focus of all these large companies there. Webinars is another one, and we need to up our game, I think, probably on that in the next couple of months. Cold calls, I guess it's through webinars and through white papers is another one, particularly in the type of area we're in. So basically a 2 or 3 page paper explaining a kind of a clear use case, the outcome of that use case, typically gets a lot of traction online.
That's a useful insight. Only 2 or 3 pages. You don't have to kind of go into 33 or 43 pages.
Absolutely not. And me in the past, that would have been my inkling. It would have been to very much focus on the technology, but no, short and concise. No.
And looking at 2 years, 3 years, where do you think you'll be?
2 or 3 years' time, hoping to be certainly well north of 25, 30 staff. I guess we're not people heavy because of the technology, but we will need to definitely have a very strong footprint in the US and in Europe as well, I guess.
Well, Connecticut wants you, you know that. I was saying to you,
you've been telling me that.
That Connecticut needs you. And there's new flights starting on the 26th of March. The flights are back again post-COVID. You'll be able to fly Dublin to Hartford, Connecticut directly.
Fantastic.
So very, very handy place to set up your business. Yep. So eventually, is it flip or no flip? Will you sell the company or keep it?
I think in the agtech industry, it's for a company like us and for a technology that we have, it's probably flip. And truth be told, we've probably already been approached on that, but it's about building the valuation of the business obviously up as high as we can. But I suppose where we sit kind of at the fulcrum between digital data that's coming downstream and enabling insights from that. So we're probably at that fulcrum where you convert raw information into something that's really valuable, and some of the larger players want and like to have control of that. So yeah, acquisition is probably the route.
I know this is I'm being greedy now. You've only just closed your £1 million round. How much do you need next, and when will you do it?
We're probably forecasting that at the moment. When we need it would be probably 12 to 15 months' time.
Yeah.
It'll be well north of 3.5 million, I would say.
Yeah. Chunky money.
Depends on our ambition, yeah. And it depends on how much resources we want to push into different regions as well. You know, whether we actually really need to have boots on the ground in the US and in these other areas. There is, a route where we can white label some of the technology and reduce that overhead on our side. So that's probably a decision we need to make in the next few months.
You will need for your team somebody really special, which leads me very neatly to the last question, which is, who would Jerome O'Connell hire in a heartbeat?
So I was thinking of this on the way in. It's a person that I'm sure most of your listeners won't know. It's a guy called Will Marshall. So Will Marshall, based out in San Francisco, I think about probably 20 years ago, built a satellite the size of a shoebox. And from that set up a company called Planet Labs. And Planet Labs really have paved the way for the development or the growth of the private space sector. So Planet Labs are a company now that employ over 1,000 people, went IPO last year, and have launched over 450 satellites in the last 15 years. So
you're a boy in man's clothing, aren't you?
So he's a guy
do you know Will?
I don't know Will personally. I've been in conferences where he's given keynote speeches, but a real tech guy at heart, and had a vision. Originally actually worked for NASA and probably saw an opportunity. NASA being obviously a large organisation, government funded, saw an opportunity back in 2010, and it's a fantastic success story. Back of the garage, San Francisco.
Those garages, of course, are huge. They're not like our little garages.
That's
It's not fair to compare.
Indeed, yeah.
Suppose final question will be, what could TeamGBS do for you? Who do you need to contact you, and how would they contact you?
So we have obviously our LinkedIn page, website, Twitter handle as well. Yeah. So I can share all that information.
Yeah, and they can come directly to you. But what kind of people? You don't want the nut jobs. You want the people with real business and real opportunities.
Yeah, so anybody in the agtech sector, anybody that's looking to leverage or utilise digital data, image data. They can be purely on the services side or on the hardware side. I'm very keen to talk to people that want to really drive innovation on that side.
Extraordinary company. Jerome O'Connell, co-founder, Proveye. Well done, and thank you very much for joining us on That Great Business Show.
Thank you very much.
Want to increase sales, reduce overheads, and provide customers with a better service? Then use Big Red Web, the easiest way to develop and maintain your website. It gives you powerful business reporting, digital marketing, and automatically integrates with the award-winning Big Red cloud accounting software. It's a game changer for SME businesses. It's so good, the government gives you a €2,500 grant towards it. Big Red Web, e-commerce made simple. BigRedCloud.com/web.
De facto shaving oil, made only from natural oils. Nothing nasty on your skin.
This interview was first posted on episode 130 of That Great Business Show, essential listening for every progressive farmer. For more great business insights, listen back to our entire back catalogue of That Great Business Show on Spotify or